Okay, let's show you the finished product, show you what we did. Ready for the big reveal. It's a bit windy, so it's trying to reveal itself, but after 3, 2, 1, and there you go. That's what we set out to achieve, and hopefully, yeah, we've made a reasonable effort of it. The fuel tank still needs a real good rub down, but I'm waiting for the lacquer to proper harden. I'll take you for a quick walk round and then we'll show you how we went about it. Okay, here's the classic speedball graphics that I wanted. Pinstripe on the tank. The sun's a bit low, but hopefully you'll get the full effect. The other side, yeah, changes the look of the bike quite drastically, I think. Stand back, get me out of the shadow, out of the shot. But yeah, there you have it. Probably more of a bobber look, but the main reason for the exercise is to give me the higher mileage. I should be able to get 160, maybe 170 miles out of the tank full now. I've not put fuel in it to start it up, but we'll be doing that next, again, once the lacquer's hardened up. So yeah, stay tuned and see how we went about the painting. As always, do remember, I am the Barnsley biker. Please like, please subscribe, please follow, more importantly, please enjoy. Hey, there you have it. Fuel tank on Harley, finished. Hope you like it. Right, what I'm going to do now is show you how I went about it, how I approached painting it. I did decide, as you can see, I've decided to paint it myself. I wanted to keep it simple, but not just plain black. So I'm going to show you how I went about it. And the first stage was to prep the tank. The tank, as much as it's a good fit, there were a couple of depressions, for want of a better word. You couldn't call them dents, but the top of the tank wasn't perfectly level. So I had to address that first, which is what I'm in the process of doing now, before we could start undercoating it, painting it, etc. So we'll start off. I'll show you where we're up to, and then maybe I'll keep you up to date with the progress and how the different stages of painting the tank, how I approached it and how I went about it. Always difficult because my space is limited, and once you start spraying and that, yeah, it goes everywhere. So maybe if the weather gets a little bit better, we can open the door and I can get a little bit near the entrance, but we'll see. But for now, I've got a little bit of primer on and I've put a little bit of filler in, so I'll just show you where we're up to. So yeah, the areas that I've marked there with black marker pen were basically just where I could feel the surface wasn't 100% even. We've got some filler in there and we've got it sprayed with an etched primer just on the surface for now. What I'm going to do is get the sander. I've got an electrical sander that does a reasonably good job, and if I start to sand this area, it'll show me where I may need to build up with a bit more of the filler if we've still got some depressions in it. So yeah, get the sander on that. We'll come back to it and have a look and see if we need to mix a bit more filler just to fill it in. I mean, it doesn't look too bad on the film, but you can see it's still very rough, but hopefully it's going to give a better finish when we've done. So let's crack on with that. That's today's job. Get the sander out. Right, I've had the rotary sander on that and taking it most of the primer and the filler down to something light flat. So let's just have a quick look. Okay, hopefully you can see that the filler coming through the paler colour there, but you can see where I've got down to the bare metal through the primer, and you can also see the depressions where the primer still is showing through grey. So what I need to do is get a really fine skim on there of filler, and down here just to fill some of these in, then we can try and get that smoothed off again. So that's the next step. Mix up some more filler and just spread it down there just to fill in these depressions where it's still showing primer. Let that harden off. What I'll do, just to help, once it's hardened off, I'll give it a coat of primer, and then it'll help me when I come to sand it down again to see where it's smooth or where it's going to need maybe additional filler. But let's get some more filler on that and let that go off, and then we can get the sander back on it again. Right then, that's the filler rubbed down. I think we've got most of the low and high spots evened out. I'm going to give it a spray of filler primer now, just to get rid of some of the smaller uneven bits, hopefully to get a better surface. Don't think it's ever going to be perfect, but we'll get something out. So yeah, I'm going to give that a wipe over with some a cloth and some thinners, and then get a coat of filler primer, just put on that area there, and then we'll prep the rest of the tank ready for the first coats of paint. So yep, coming along. Slow progress when you're waiting for filler and paint to dry, but yeah, coming on. We've got a little bit of deburring to do on some of the edges as well, but I'll do that once we've got this bit filled in. Crack on. All right, we're making progress with the Harley tank. As you saw, we've put the filler in, put a few short coats of primer on to rub it down so we can see the high and low spots. I think I've got it looking something like smooth, so I put a couple of coats of the grey primer on just to see if you could see the edges of the filler, and everything looked fairly smooth. So I'm now just finished putting on 3 or 4 coats of a high build primer, and I'll let you have a look in a second. I'm going to leave that overnight to go off, and then I'm going to get some medium to fine sandpaper and just rub that down to get a decent finish to start taking the primary colours. I mean, it'll get off, the whole tank will get a shot of primer anyway first, but then I'm going to put the start putting the black and see how it goes. So let you have a quick look, see what's happened. So there you have it. That's the high build primer that I've put on it, and at the moment, I mean, that's still drying off, so you can't tell for sure, but so far it's looking quite good. I mean, it's not a perfect tank, but then again, you look at the Harley tank and it's got a ridge down the middle. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but that's looking better than it did. I'll know for sure once I've let that dry off and I can have a feel. Excuse me, I can run my hand over it. It's amazing how when you're doing paint work, you can feel more than you can see sometimes with undulations, dints, irregularities. So yeah, when we come to rub it down, we'll be able to tell whether there's any more filler needed, but at the moment I'm reasonably happy with that. The next stage is going to be to deburr the brackets. These this one I've started on it, but I've not done the bracket at the front yet. There were some sharpish edges which it's hard to get paint to take to the edges, so I'm just going to get a rotary sander on those and take that off. Then we're going to mask it off properly all round, shot of primer all round, and then we'll be on to the main coats, which yeah, when we get down to the real business. But for now, progress has been made. Come back to you when we've done the next stage. Okay, so we've made a start on getting the primer coat onto the tank. Just let you have a quick look. I took the decision to fit the fuel pump, internal fuel pump filter and filter etc, then mask it up and then paint it, mainly because the paint I'm using I can't guarantee is going to be petrol resistant, and I didn't want to paint the tank without fitting the pump and then the fuel attack the paint and that cause a leak. So I've checked the tank, done a quick pressure test, and it seems to be okay, sealed etc. So let you have a look. I've done an undercoat on the underside of the tank. I'm going to let that dry off, and then we're going to do the top half of the tank, then we can flat it off and start with the main colour. But here, take a look. I'm using a grey etch primer onto the bare metal, hopefully to give me the best results on the main colour sticking. There you are, that's the fuel pump all masked off and the wiring all masked off. As I say, I'm sure there'll be people who've got different opinions on that, but because, as I say, the paint I'm using, can't guarantee it's going to be petrol resistant even with a lacquer on it, I'm going to paint with that in place. At least now I know that the seal against the bare metal of the tank is holding air, so it should hold a liquid as well. So there you have it. That's the bottom half with a couple of coats of base on. I'm going to flip it over and we'll do the top half. I'll come back and give you a look at it when we've got the base coat finished, just before I start giving it a quick flat down, giving me a smooth surface to start applying the main colour. But there you go. That's it. Okay, so you saw that we'd got the tank primered. I've now done the first couple of coats of black paint. Just about to put the final coat on. Let you have a quick look. But coming along quite nicely. Yeah, sat a little precarious at the moment, just letting that flash off. One of the things, the paint I'm using, which you'll have seen in the introduction, is a specialist manufacturer that does motorcycle matching colours. I mean, mine's just a black, fairly basic black, but one of the things in their instructions it does say is to use a hairdryer once you've put the paint on, just to help with the curing off process. So that's got 2 coats of on there. Now I'm going to apply what the RS paints call the cross coat in the opposite direction to which I've just put the first 2 coats on. So I'm just going to apply a thin cross coat and then leave it to dry so they can move it out of the way to properly cure. There you have it. So coming along nicely. Once I've done that, I've got the pinstriping to sort out and then get the lacquer on. So yeah, the actual painting doesn't take long, it's letting it cure off that takes the time. But let's get this final coat on and leave it to cure. Okay, I've got the black paint on. I'm now in the process of masking it up. My intention is to put a couple of pinstripes in red onto the tank. Trying to paint them so they fade out as they come towards the seat end of the tank. So yeah, it's a bit of an experiment and trial and error, see how we get on. But to do this, I've started masking it up. I'll take you and let you have a look and talk you through what I'm trying to do. So yeah, let's go and have a quick look at it. Okay, so that's taped up to show where the pinstripes are going to go, more or less, or the pinstripe's going to go. My intention is, or what I'm going to attempt to do, use this as the guide. I'm going to mask up to the edge of this on both sides and then remove the blue masking to leave me a bare metal, mask up the rest of the tank and just spray this area to give me the red stripe that I'm putting on there. As I say, I'm going to try and fade it as it comes down. Possibly going to be a bit of trial and error, but see how we get on. Then when we've got that and that's dried off, we can start getting the lacquer on and get a nice shine finish on that tank. But that's today's task. Okay, just to show you the technique that I'm trying, here's the next stage, if you like. So I put the blue thin pinstripe tape on, if you like, to use as a guide. I then put this blue tape up to the initial one, up to the thin one on either side, and then literally just peel that off. So this is the area I'm going to paint here. Okay, obviously going to mask the rest of the tank off, but so I've just got to do that side and then mask up the rest of the tank and then get some paint on. Okay, I've got the tank masked up, or partially masked up. The paint that I've got is like a touch-up paint. It's a brush-on paint. that's been supplied by RS Paints, basically for pinstriping. So I'm going to hand paint it in here and here and try and fade it towards this end. I don't know how thick it's going to go on, so it might be a little bit of trial and error, but yeah, we're going to put a layer of paint on. To fade it, I might have to just rub it down. Don't know, we'll see when we get to that. But for now, that's it masked up, ready to go. Okay, so getting on with the pinstriping on the tank. I've got the red pinstripe paint applied, a couple of coats of that. I'm going to leave that to dry off overnight before I start taking the masking off and checking, make sure we've got no seep through on the masking. Hopefully it'll give us a nice clean edge, fingers crossed. And then it's a case of, my plan is, the RS paints, basically you get a base colour and then you get a lacquer which gives you the gloss finish. I'm going to put the lacquer on before. I've got some tank graphics to put on, and I'm going to put the tank graphics on top of the lacquer layer, because then I've got to put a petrol proof lacquer over the top of everything to try and protect it. So the petrol proof lacquer will go over the graphics, but the graphics will be on top of the lacquer that comes with the paint kit. So yeah, have a look. This is the red stripe. Just need to let that dry off. So this end I've left it because this is where I am going to try and fade it. Okay, fingers crossed that we can get a decent effect on that without it looking too amateurish. But yeah, get that done. As I say, then we'll get some lacquer on it, probably tomorrow now, get some lacquer on it. But going to leave that to dry off. The weather's not best for drying paint. It's yeah, not getting into double figures outside, so it's probably about 14-15 degrees here in the garage, so it's going to take a bit longer for that to dry off, but I'm going to leave it overnight. That should be plenty of time. So we'll come back when I start taking the masking tape off, and we can have a look at how well the stripe's done. Okay, update on progress with the fuel tank. I unmasked after I'd let the paint dry, and I got quite a lot of bleed through on the masking down the edges of the red pinstriping. So to correct that, basically I covered the pinstripe with a piece of the thin tape that we'd used to mark it out originally, and then just blew in around that with black just to sort out the edges. As you can see, I've managed to fade it away there. Hopefully once it's lacquered and everything, that should look quite good. But that's the progress so far. Okay, I'm just going to get this last piece of tape off and then leave it to proper harden before we start lacquering. So okay, let's get this last piece of tape off. There you go, just peel it back nice and gentle to reveal the stripes. There you have it. Reasonably pleased with it now. A bit disappointed when I saw how much it had bled through on the edges, but yeah, coming along. Lacquer next, and then time for the graphics. So go inside for a cup of tea while that cures off, and then this afternoon we'll come back and we'll get some lacquer on that. Okay, we've got the tank painted and a couple of coats of lacquer applied. Now it's time to get the graphics on that I decided to go for on the bike. So I've got the first one sort of lined up, ready to go. Let me just show you. Okay, so basically I've more or less positioned the sticker as I think I want it to go. Okay, holding it down with these pieces of masking tape. What I'm going to do is peel the backing off part way, cut it, apply this part of the sticker, then peel it back again from this side, remove the rest of the backing, and then smooth the rest of the sticker down. So yeah, should be reasonably straightforward, but we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. Try not to get any air bubbles in it. So that's the the sticker on. Now it's a case of gently peeling this off, and hopefully we've not got anything too serious in the way of air bubbles. So let's just there we go. A little bit of a crease there. No, a few there that we need to work on. Okay, let me get those eased out. Okay, as you can see, I went for the speedball graphic design, proper iconic. Really like the old Harleys, and this is one of the designs that that period. The yes, really appeals to me. So there it is. Managed to get it on fairly straightforward, no major air bubbles, and I think I've got most of them out. So we're going to leave that. The advice is to leave that for 48 hours so that the glue on the back of the sticker can properly cure or adhere to the surface, and then it's a case of a couple of coats of clear lacquer again over the top of everything, a petrol proof lacquer, so that we don't damage the paint if we spill any petrol. So now I've just got to get the other side lined up, and yeah, this is a tricky bit to get it in the same area looking symmetrical. Wish me luck. Let's have a go. Okay, so that's it, more or less done. We've got the decals on. We've put 2 or 3 coats of a clear petrol resistant lacquer on. I'll let you have a quick look. It's going to need a bit of a polish just to get the surface completely finished off, but we've got to let that harden off first. It does recommend a couple of weeks, so I'll probably mount it back on the bike and then give it a couple of weeks, and then get the I've got some really fine polishing compound. I'll get some of that on it to give it a proper shine up, but so far it's looking reasonably okay. So let you have a quick look, and then we're going to do a bit of a shuffle round, because I want to give the Harley a bit of a mint up before I put the tank back on. So I've got a shuffle round in the garage to do, and then we'll get the tank back on as part of the minting up, and let you have a look at the finished item, shall we say. But here, so there you have it, the finished article. I say that's only been drying for 24 hours so far. It does say 48 hours for it to start to go off completely and to be fully hardened, a couple of weeks. So I can handle it, but we don't want to be putting any pressure or any weight on it at the moment. So yeah, I've got a bit of unmasking to do underneath, but we'll do that in a couple of days. But there we are for now, looking something like. Close up on the striping. There's some imperfections in the tank, but hey, that's life. There you have thin striping, looking reasonably good. Okay, well, I've just spent a couple of hours over the last couple of days giving the Harley a good clean, because everything, all the bodywork's off, etc. We're now almost ready to do the initial fit of the tank, but first I've got to the bit of masking that I did underneath it. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the fuel pump, I fitted it before I painted it and then masked it off, because I wasn't sure how the paint would react in the seal area. I checked that it did seal by pressurising the tank, and so now I've just got to get all the masking off that. Then we can give the tank the initial fit. I think I'm going to fit it and then do the final buffing up while it's in situ. It's going to be a lot easier to do that, because basically it'll be held firm while it's on the bike itself. So I'm going to take that off, and then I'll probably video putting it all back on to the bike. Okay, let's get some scissors and get that masking off. Okay, going to get the tank back on now. Okay, basically it's mounted at 2 points, at the front here and at the back there, Then we've got the fuel supply to reconnect, the breather pipe to reconnect down there, and there's a block connector which is not easy to get to, hidden down here, that we have to reconnect for the fuel pump, etc. So I'm just going to throw something over the handlebars to protect the tank while we fit it, so we don't bang into that. Just put this out of the way, don't fall off after all this time. Right, okay, we're just going to put that there. That should give us enough room. Okay, let's get the tank on. We did test this, fit this before, to make sure it was going to go on, so it should go on without too much jiggly pokily. There we go, somewhere there. Right, 2 bolts, the shorter one, if I remember rightly, it goes here at the back. Get the hole lined up. Yeah, that's going through. Okay, right, I can shift that while I get the front hole lined up. There's a bracket behind this, a little plastic cover. It's held in place by this front mount as well, so you've got to get all the holes to line up on this end on both sides. But there we are, through. Okay. Excuse my aching bones. Just put the, for now, quickly get the washer on and the nut. These bolts, if anybody from Harley's listening, are longer than they need to be, unless they're designed for other accessories to be fitted using these mounts. But really, why do you make them that long? My intention is to probably get some that are a bit shorter at some stage. Alright, I'll tighten those up once I've got everything else connected and I know everything's going to go back where it should come from. Okay, so this is the wiring for the block connector, which is, he says, down here somewhere. Okay, might have to go and get my torch, which I don't think is in the garage. Right, and that's the push fit for the fuel. So it's a case of pushing that up and that in. A little bit of a dribble because there's always a little bit of petrol in there. Nearly impossible to get it all out. Let's just wipe my hands. Okay, well, I find this block connector. It's there. Okay, let's get this. Okay, it's tucked away in there. So you are messing blind in here. I believe that's in. Okay, so get this tucked back up there. That's the clip for the breather, which fastens in. Okay, the breather's obviously in a slightly different position on this tank to the other one, because there we go. Something like, okay, so now there's a plastic cover that hides this lot that I've got to relocate. Then it's the side panel back on and we can get the seat back on. So bear with me. Right, should be a little bolt to hold that cover on there somewhere. Harley have packed so much onto his bikes that they weren't designed to take in the early days, and then hide it all with loads of plastic covers and stuff. Right, so there you have it. That's the tank back on. I'm not going to film this tightening everything up. I'll come back once everything else is on and we're ready to do the big reveal.